Okay, guys, welcome to the very first episode of Chasing a Murderer. Now, this one is going to be a short one, and we're going to be going over a kid that's named Daniel Marsh. This boy will change your mind of what teenagers or children are capable of thinking about or doing, because a lot of times we look at kids as if their heart is pure. There's no way that they can carry any type of evil, in their heart whatsoever. But this guy will change your mind about that. Daniel Marsh was arrested for killing an older couple just for the thrill of it. And 48 Hours has a story on Daniel Marsh, one of the most horrific, soulish teenage killers in Davis, California's history. I have a few clips from that special, and we would go over this 15-year-old killer, a boy who claims he wished he wasn't like that, but you will see him claim it for yourselves and through his emotionless face, in my opinion. But let's see what you think as you watch this kid speak and confess that he is no longer that killer that they arrested just a few years back. Here we go. Let me run this clip for you.
Your prison records, you repeatedly tell your therapist you cannot remember the offense. Is that true?
That's what I've told him, but it's not true.
Why would you say that?
Because I haven't wanted to remember it.
Why not?
Because it was unbelievably horrific and horrendous, and it's hard for me to even wrap my mind around how I could have done something that awful, and I guess I've just been afraid to actually face that.
So here he is saying, I no longer have those feelings or those fantasies, and I can't even go back to thinking about it. Your reaction?
I think he's trying to manipulate the judge to making him seem better than he really is. Those things just don't disappear on their own without intensive therapy and really dealing with it. And you can see that the blank emotion behind his words, that there's really no empathy there. And he's not wanting to talk about it because he knows that if he talks about it, he's going to have some cues to show that he still really gets joy from them. But if you get up close to him, you can see his eye twitching the whole time. As I would approach, he would get very defensive. During defense questioning, he kind of drank water and was very loose, but he crushed a cup in his hand during my cross-examination that I didn't even see. So I don't believe any of those thoughts or feelings are gone. I think he's just gotten better at masking them.
Yeah. Why did you do that? I looked up sociopath and psychopath because I always found it fascinating, and the more I've aged, the more I can relate, because I don't feel sympathy for other people at all. I don't feel empathy for them, and whether I like that or not, it's the way it is. It's just like, I want to hurt people. I want to kill people, but I don't want to want that. I wish it wasn't that way.
I think Daniel just told us exactly what's going on with the psychopath aspect, where he doesn't feel empathy for anyone, and that results in these horrific crimes. And I don't think this is what he set out to do, but when these pathways are forged in his brain, he can't not do it, which makes him so dangerous.
At one point, didn't he even tell you he wished he had taken pictures?
I asked him if he had taken any pictures, and he said no, he hadn't, because he thought it probably wasn't a good idea, but he said he wished he had, so that he had something to remember it by. If he had taken any pictures, and he said no, he hadn't, because he thought it probably wasn't a good idea, but he said he wished he had, so that he had something to remember.
Pieces of evidence that would incriminate him if they were found?
Yes, I do, and he actually addresses that. He calls them souvenirs, something that he can look at and remember, brings him back to that moment when he's doing this brutal murder, to kind of relive it and to get that same feeling a little bit.
How typical is this?
Very, very. I mean, you see all the crime shows.
looking at this innocent face, and it truly is. Some people might consider it creepy, but it looks like he just lacks emotion. It's very clear he did tell the truth, and we look at him compared to the day he was arrested. He's made some big changes. He's made himself look presentable and as if he had changed. But the thing is, has he? Has he really changed? Has that corrupt and evil mind just somehow found the ability to say, hey, that was just a, spur of the moment. I changed. I'm nothing like that anymore. Even though I said that was when I killed those people, it was the most amazing feeling I ever had. Okay, guys, let's see for yourselves. Here's a clip for you.
Double homicide?
His best friend, Daniel Marsh, was bragging about killing the couple. Investigators brought Marsh in.
You were there. Me? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? I'm a kid.
The high school student denied all knowledge of the murders.
I don't hurt people.
But after over 3 hours of questioning, the facade began to crumble. Marsh admitted that for years he had fantasized about killing.
Every time I look at someone, in my mind I see flashes of images of me killing them.
The night of the murders, Marsh says he was hunting for someone to kill and came upon Chip and Claudia's open window.
I got a hole in the screen, climbed in through the back.
He calmly told investigators he enjoyed stabbing them.
I'm not gonna lie, it felt amazing.
And Daniel thought he'd get away with it, taping the bottom of his shoes so he wouldn't leave prints and wearing gloves. Hidden at his home, police found the knife he used.
I kept it as a souvenir.
Just 15 at the time of the murders, prosecutors charged Marsh as an adult. He was convicted and sentenced to 52 years to life. But just 4 years later, a new California law was passed to protect juveniles from being tried as adults. And that might set Marsh free on his 25th birthday. Defense expert psychiatrist Matthew Soulier believes Marsh deserves a second chance.
I don't think he's worth throwing away, in my opinion.
But Chip and Claudia's family is determined to do whatever they can to keep Marsh behind bars.
Aaron, good morning. I see why the family's fighting so hard. His words are very...
Been diagnosed as a psychopath. But the thing is, this was 6 years ago, and Daniel Marsh and his attorneys say he had an immature mind. He's now 21. He's changed.
So what happens now to determine whether he stays in prison or not?
Well, the big question is whether his case will fall under this new law. And the new law basically says anyone under the age of 16 can never be tried as an adult. And in most cases, I think that's probably right. But we've looked at, there are a handful of cases, including Daniel Marsh, that the big question is, can someone like that be rehabilitated?
Right.
I mean, if you're a psychopath and he scored one of the highest scores that the psychiatrist I spoke to had ever seen at that age, it's lack of empathy. It's psychological liars, pathological liars. Do you change even as you get older? He says he has.
Yeah, what evidence do they have, though, that he's changed? I'm still haunted by the words that it was amazing to kill someone that he doesn't even know.
And you haven't seen the entire confession. The entire confession, in fact, some of the cops who listened to it were damaged just by hearing his words without even seeing any of the pictures.
Wow. Great, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Okay, for his horrendous crime, he was sentenced to 52 years to life. But it says, there's a new law that is actually fighting for him to have a chance to be a free man in this world. But I don't think this should apply, as the author said earlier in one of the clips, this shouldn't apply to certain people that score that high. And I mean, the boy admits he thought killing that couple was the most amazing feeling he ever had. And you can see his sigh, his relief, his excitement as he spoke about it. And that is what is most scary, in my opinion. Now, there's another channel I watch, and I would love to see what she thinks about this. And she's into researching psychopaths and things like that. I'll actually post her link on this video later on, hopefully. But let's, what if you were the parents of this kid? How would you react if this was your child? I mean, how would we handle this as parents if we found out your kid was a murderer? And, I've done a couple of stories where parents have had to face that fact. And a lot of time those parents actually say, you know what? This isn't right. I know he's my kid, but, I'm going to turn him in and do what I can and do what is right. So let's go over this story. So Claudia is the woman that he killed, and she married a guy from the Davis, California area in 1996. And they both lived, pretty much a perfect life. And they were married for 17 years. And Claudia's family says, they had no concern about the safety about Davis at all, because it's an iconic town with the perfect neighbors and friends. Davis, California is the best place to live, one of the safest cities. In fact, Claudia met her husband Chip at a church that he was actually one of the founders of. And they said that Claudia was the type of person that if you met her, you were instantly best friends with her. Anybody she met, they were best friends. And that's the kind of person she was. And as for Chip, he was a musician, a folk music musician. And he was, he's got along with everybody as well. Great couple, happy couple, living a pretty productive life of, being social, interactive, a very, very, very social people is what I can find. So if this happened 2013, double murder in Davis, the kid was only 15 years old. He left no evidence and might have gotten away with it if it had not been the fact he talked to his friends. And CBS says, more disturbing, as the program confirmed, he might still get away with it due to the new California law, which in our opinion, the majority of us believe, actually gives more, it convicts. It doesn't convict the murderers. Instead, it does the innocent victims. They are the ones that died and their murderer gets away with it. So who's more important here? The victim is more important here, and we must never ever lose our sight of that. So anyways, I want to go over some details with you guys. So as I mentioned before, Chip, he was a prominent attorney and a bluegrass musician at a Unitarian church in Davis, California. It's a low-crime college town. And on April 14, 2013, Claudia, 76, and Chip, 87, failed to show up for church. And Chip does not make his gig that he had set up that day. Concerned family members call the police, and one of their kids show up at their house only to find that a window was left open and the screen was slashed. Now Chip, what they found was Chip was stabbed 61 times and Claudia a full 67 times. The program mentions torture but fails to convey the full horror of the crime, one of the worst in the state and national history. The autopsy report ran a full 16 pages and more than 6,000 words. Police had no evidence. They had nothing to link them to whoever could have done such a terrible act to such a beautiful couple. But police finally get a call from the best friend identifying the teen, 15-year-old Daniel Marsh, as the killer. And as you've seen in the earlier clips, he first denies it and says, "I'm just a kid. Why would I do something like that?" But later he confesses and says, "It was the most amazing feeling ever when he stabbed that couple to death." He basically admitted that that was the best feeling in his entire life. Psychopaths, they really lack emotions, so they lack those feelings like on your birthday, you get excited. It's a day, you get to celebrate for yourself. Christmas, it's really exciting. You get together with your family and you get presents and all these things that normally excite normal people. He lacks these sorts of things. So in order to get any type of excitement in his life, he has to do something extreme. And that varies with each person. Of course, there's psychopaths out there that don't kill people. But then you have the ones that do. And what they're doing, I believe, is they are looking for some type of feeling because they just lack everything when it comes to emotion, especially excitement. Could you imagine living a life where nothing excited you? Nothing made you happy, nothing made you sad. I mean, you're just living, actually. You're just there. There's nothing, to look forward to in your life. And sadly, even though you're a psychopath, you do have choices. You do not have to go kill people or do any of these things. It's just a matter of how selfish you are in most cases. But some people are hardwired differently, and it's like a, deformation at birth. And people don't realize that some people cannot help the way that they think. And if you understand that when you're born, you are programmed to be that person that you are. You can change things up to a point, but it's really hard to change what you like, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what turns you on, what turns you off. And so you got to remember, some people are hardwired and programmed to be something they don't want to be. And it takes a lot of fight to really not be the person that you're programmed to be. So really what we need to do is have programs out there that help people more, that are like this, who are fighting these programs that they have in their bodies, is what I call it. And we just don't have enough out there. And to identify, future killers and murderers and, perverted, I guess, minds. But if we did, we could save more lives as well as help people. The one thing that a lot of people who don't believe in religion and stuff, the Bible did for people like this is they taught them morals, what's right, what's wrong. Whether the story's true or not, that really didn't matter. What mattered was that you were teaching people that being kind to others is good, and what evil deeds can really create a bad, outcome for you in some way. And without those kind of things, you're going to see more and more kids starting to openly express, odd behavior and then try to justify it. And in the interview that we watched, we see him try to describe to them, and he's being honest. I mean, purely honest. You can't get any more honest than he was, saying, I don't want to want that kind of stuff, but I really can't help it. Period. You know, that's the way it is. That's how he's really trying to pull the deepest emotions he has to explain to them. He doesn't want to be this guy, but he can't help it. But do we feel sorry for him? Well, if you kill somebody, no. But if he had said that before he took the act, then I think different laws should apply to people like that and get them the help they need. But he didn't do that. He followed through with the act. Like I said, you do have control of choices. But I want to run this clip.
Was convicted in the brutal murders of an elderly couple, but is a life sentence cruel and unusual punishment for 17-year-old Daniel Marsh? A judge decided today to explore that question, and whatever the answer, KCRA 3 star Akina Shams explains Marsh will have a chance at parole once he's 41 years old.
17-year-old Daniel Marsh, shown here during his trial in September, will get a chance to fight for a lighter sentence. The family of the elderly Davis couple he's accused of killing learned that today.
We want to see the defendant off the streets. We want to see him never secure freedom from incarceration for the rest of his life.
Marsh was 15 years old at the time of the killings in April 2013. And today, a Yolo County judge agreed to grant Marsh an individualized sentencing hearing. It means the judge will take his age into account before sentencing him.
Well, we believe an analysis of these facts makes clear that this juvenile is completely culpable for these acts and should be punished accordingly.
Mike Cabral, the assistant chief deputy DA in Yolo County, wants Marsh sentenced to the maximum, 52 years to life. That's 26 years for each victim. Floyd Feeney, a criminal law professor at UC Davis, says an individualized sentencing hearing is not a surprise, considering the crime and Marsh's age.
The purpose of the hearing is to make sure that all sides have been heard and that all of the angles in the case have been covered.
Marsh, whose attorney would not comment today, could get concurrent sentences, meaning he'd only have to serve 26 years.
We're convinced from the evidence that was presented at the trial that he will kill again if he's on the street. So we want him incarcerated.
But prosecutors say whatever the sentence, he will be eligible for parole in 25 years once he's 41 years old. In Woodland, Sharif Nishan.
All right, let's go over this story. So he taped his shoes so he wouldn't leave footprints. He put on gloves. He searched homes. He wasn't picky. And he found a window open. He slashes the screen open and he creeps into their house. And he stands over a couple with a knife and has moments to deliberate whether to carry out such an evil act or not, and chooses to stab them not once, twice, but over 60 times. This is extreme overkill. And somebody like that should never walk the streets ever again. And I don't understand humanity, where they are going when they're giving more rights to the criminal than they are to the victims, as I mentioned before. Families have lost loved ones here. Lives have been destroyed. And he should be considered for the age, as he was too immature to understand that murder is bad. I think not. In fact, if anything, he should live in a mental institution for the rest of his life, if that's the case. No matter what, he should never walk the streets again, because you are chancing for another person to lose somebody they love because you want to feel sorry for somebody that has psychological issues. What kind of message is that sending out to other people? It's saying, hey, It's okay. I'm young. I'll get a slap on the hand, a few years in jail, and I'll get off and I can come out and do it again. But I'll be smarter this time. What they're doing is they're training a smarter killer in most cases. What we need to do is create federal mental institutions where we can contain dangerous people, because it's not fair to the productive people in society to always have to live on the edge and feel unsafe because we're worried about the feelings of somebody that is unstable and who is very dangerous. We don't give more rights to people who don't follow the law and don't follow morals and values. We reward people who do. That's the way communities should work. Now, this is a kid that we need to be aware of what's going on with him, and we need to support the family of the victim. So we need to make sure that we keep our sights on morals and values and safety. You can't disarm the people who are innocent and arm the evil. You cannot blame the gun, the knife, for something, or age even, that a person does. But we can recognize that we have a problem in America and try to help these people before it's too late. At that point, in that direction of addressing it, you are protecting everybody. And there's no need to face what this boy's facing now. We must make it easier for people who are dealing with these kind of thoughts and issues and programs, that there's help out there for them. Now, there's some people that are really upset because Marsh delivers a TED talk on YouTube, on a YouTube video, casting himself as a victim of sexual abuse as a child. The convicted murderer has discovered that there's no evil people in the world, only damaged people. For the victims' families, it's a taunt. And in a juvenile court, it gets worse. He actually is put on the stand and he claims he's a changed man, but he can't look at the victims' families. Now, this episode on 48 Hours is a nice watch. I suggest you guys find it, give it a look at, and then come back and comment, what you think. Now, one thing that it's lacking is I think it fails to cover his bizarre courtroom testimony, which in part 2 of this, I'm going to try to pull up and discuss that. This is the end of part 1, and I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will talk to you later.
Searching for the missing. Where are they?